Hey guys, welcome back. So you love writing, but for some reason you're still struggling with captivating your reader's attention. And I remember when I was starting out and posting my work online, and for some reason I couldn't gain any readership. And so it really forced me to put myself in my reader's shoes and try to figure out what it was that I was missing and what I could improve on. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video, on ways you can improve your writing to grab your reader's attention. The ability to captivate readers isn't just for novelists. It's crucial for any type of writing. For example, blog writing, social media posts. The more engaging your writing is, the more people want to connect with it. If you're an aspiring writer, I think that this is one of the most crucial skills you can seek to develop. So in terms of identifying the problem, a lot of our fears as writers are things like procrastination, writer's block, and self-doubt. A lot of these challenges that we face as writers stem from our fear of not captivating our readers. We feel stuck after writing a couple of pages. Sometimes it's even before we begin our book. And sometimes it feels like you've written so much, but somehow the story still feels flat. This can often lead to self-doubt and resulting in these phases of just procrastinating and not writing, and sometimes even scrapping our entire manuscript. Have you ever experienced writer's block? Because I know I have. So here are 3 things that I changed that massively impacted my readership. The first one is using vivid imagery. Now this might sound like recycled advice, but hear me out. Using the senses like sight, smell, and touch can make your writing come alive. Vivid imagery really does help build the atmosphere of your book. I'm going to bring up a book that I am reading right now. The Family Plot by Megan Collins. Sorry, there's a sticker on here. But yeah, this is a book I am currently reading, and I thought this was the perfect example to bring up in this video because we are talking about captivating your readers. This captivated me. We're going to go into a little bit more detail. So the example reads as follows. The November wind is icy on the back of my neck, pushing me closer to the front door. Dead leaves skitter around my feet as if welcoming me home. Now this is short and it's not necessarily the most vivid description I could pull up, but I remember when I was reading these 2 lines, and for some reason the dead leaves skittering around her feet really did give me the sense of despair that the character was feeling. She talks about being pushed closer to the front door, so we know that the main character is feeling kind of hesitant in approaching her family home, especially because she's returning after so many years. It's kind of a gothic description to being welcomed home, because when we think about being welcomed home, it's not the first thing that comes to mind. And so this brings me to my second point. The second thing to keep an eye out while writing or editing your story is using strong language and appropriate verbs to help create some kind of energy or momentum to the scene that you're writing. By stronger language, I mean using verbs that really do spring out at you and help create a better image of what's happening in the scene for the reader. For all the hours Andy and I spent locked to each other's hips, hiding in the credenza to jump out at Mum, distracting our groundskeeper with leaf pile thoughts, I never understood why he'd spring out of the house sometimes and pick up the axe that leaned against the shed. Jump out at Mum and he'd spring out of the house sometimes. The writer is being very subtle about what the brother really was like, without outright telling us, but instead it lets the reader come to that conclusion themselves. Another example from the same chapter is the ending of chapter 1, where we are introduced to Fritz, who is the housekeeper, or the groundskeeper, sorry. And this is the paragraph that reads as follows. Fritz swallows then, throat bobbing in his neck like all those actors in the crime scene reenactments we saw, their fear looking hard and bulbous inside them. It makes me swallow too. Makes me rub at the hair still rising on the back of my neck. But when Fritz speaks again, his voice doesn't waver. So looking at this paragraph, it's pretty clear that Fritz is nervous as heck. I mean, his throat is bobbing in his neck, and she's comparing this to the crime scene and reenactments that she saw, again bringing backstory to a lot of description. It's pretty clear that Fritz is gathering up his confidence to announce this big thing that I won't tell you because I don't want to spoil the book for you. The use of strong language to propel the story, to create emotion, to really encase the reader in a certain emotion or theme or whatever, really does help make the story seem more alive. And I think that creating energy on the page through your words really does come through for your reader and makes them more engaged with what's happening. The third point is keeping an eye out for certain storytelling elements in your writing. To create a story that is captivating to your readers, it's vital that your readers feel connected to the story plot, and for that they need to be connected to the characters. How you can do this is by incorporating things that increase the suspense in your book, creating emotional stakes, and making clear your characters' motivations. If you nail these things, especially at the beginning of your story, you'll have captivated your reader enough for them to stick around. What better way to explain this than showing you the opening lines of the same book that we've been looking at for the previous examples. So, my parents named me Dahlia, after the Black Dahlia, the actress whose body was cleaved in half, left in grass as sharp as scalpels, a permanent smile sliced onto her face. And when I first learned her story at 4 years old, I assumed a knife would one day carve me up. I'm sorry if that was a bit much for you, but when I first picked up this book at the bookstore, it captivated me instantly, hands down, no questions about it. It was the main character instantly coming into play, and hearing her speak about her name in such a way and expressing her fear of being cut up one day. And it really did pique my interest. It was different, it was engaging, and it was a hook. It hooked me right in. I wanted to pick up this book, I wanted to buy it, and I was definitely going to make an effort to read it. Look at the last example for this video. We were 10 the first time we noticed her. She was prowling our woods like a stray cat, gaze fastened to the back of her house as if counting its every stone. At night, her flashlight beam bounced off the branches and leaves. For years we spied on her, spying on us, using binoculars to see her more clearly through the trees. We talked about her enormous eyes, joking that they must have been surgically enlarged. The better to see us with, we guessed. This example highlights 2 of the 3 things I've pointed out before. So I'm going to highlight the text to make it easier to understand. So we were 10 the first time we noticed her, immediately creating suspense within that paragraph. And this is like chapter 4, like just in the middle of like text. So the writer does a good job of engaging interest and, establishing. I remember this quote from Stephen King where he talked about looking at the paragraphs of his writing and not looking at the lines, but the paragraph instead. And, when you look at the paragraph, you should be able to know where you're going with it. She was prowling our woods like a stray cat. Prowling is a very interesting verb to describe a human being. I don't think humans prowl the forest at night, but that's the word that the writer uses, and it does fit the description of what she's trying to explain. She's describing this strange individual, but it does help build into that general interest of what the heck is going on. I like the use of bounced off. When I was reading, I was just imagining like this pitch black forest and like this round light just bouncing around like randomly. I don't know, but there we go. Again, the writer does a good job of tying the backstory and these emotional cues with the main character and her memory of her brother. Bringing up backstory in such a way doesn't feel rushed to the writer, and instead everything kind of has more meaning and more depth. In terms of these emotional cues and these little hints to the main character's backstory, it's not always easy to do it in the first draft, and so relax if it's not just quite there yet with your manuscript, but this is something that you can improve on while editing and revisiting your manuscript. So to wrap up this video, keep 3 things in mind while writing. Vivid imagery, powerful and actionable verbs and language, creating high stakes and tension throughout your story. I'd love to hear more about how you create more compelling and captivating stories, and if there were any methods that I skipped and advice that you'd like to share to me and other writers, please do leave them in the comments below, and feel free to connect with other writers in the comments. If you're interested in more writing related videos, then check out my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!